The war on drugs is not slowing down, especially when you consider the fact that the DEA is now fighting to ensure that they'll have the ability to look into your medical records without probable cause and without a warrant from any court. Now, this is according to a great article that was written by the Daily Beast, and they talked about how every state has something that's known as the Prescription Drug Monitor Program. There's no uniformity state to state, but the whole intention is to ensure that state authorities have the ability to do proper investigations to figure out whether or not prescription drugs are being abused or if they're being sold in the black market. Now, with the Prescription Drug Monitor Program, there are already issues when it comes to privacy. For instance, there are various cases where these law enforcement officials can literally look into your medical records without any type of court order or warrant, right? But the DEA wants to take it even further. They're realizing that this is happening on a state level, so why can't the feds get a little bit of that action? The Drug Enforcement Administration wants the same kind of power, starting with access to an organ database containing the private medical data of more than 1 million people. 2 years ago, the U.S. District Court found in favor of the state, ruling that prescription data is covered by the Fourth Amendment's protection against unlawful searches and seizures. However, the DEA appealed the ruling to the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal in San Francisco and has been fighting tooth and nail ever since to access organs files on its own terms. Okay, so they want to, again, have the same ability as these state officials to go into your medical data and figure out whether or not you are abusing prescription drugs.
So, of course, as always, it has the full weight of the Obama administration saying, yes, we should be able to violate your privacy that way. You know, change on the outside, continuity on the inside. This is yet another move by the Obama administration to violate civil liberties. And to give you a sense of how egregious this is, if cops came into your house and they say, okay, I want to rifle through your medicine cabinet, obviously that's protected by the Fourth Amendment. That's very private what's in your medicine cabinet. They'd need a warrant. It's not like they can't do it. And in this case, I know why they'd want to track OxyContin and testosterone and all these different things. For example, you might find out that there's a cop who's got roid rage, and you look through these records and you go, oh, wow, look at this. He's overprescribed, etc. That's why you get a warrant. You see, in a democracy, in a free country, we have certain rights. And that cop has rights. Everybody's got rights. And now this is a way to get around those rights, saying, do an administrative subpoena. That's like them saying, you guys want to raid their privacy? Yeah, we're all agreed. Let's raid their privacy. That's not asking a court, that's not getting a judge or a neutral party to say you can do this, you really have some evidence on the guy, you have some suspicion on the guy. It's the blanket look at it. And some of these are dangerous drugs, some are Schedule 5 drugs that are totally benign and innocuous. And then does it get abused? Of course! In Utah, where they allow it, they've already done 11,000 searches.
In 1 year.
In 1 year. Because the minute they have a suspicion or they don't like somebody, like, oh, let's search his medical records and see what we come up with. And in fact, one cop, it turned out in one of the cases, he was addicted to drugs. He looked through other people's records because he had access to them, because he never had to go to a judge to get a warrant, and he would go and raid their house to steal their drugs.
It's insane. It's insane. And also, look, it puts the onus of, prescription drug abuse on patients, right? And look, to some extent, yeah, there are people who are knowingly and purposely abusing certain drugs. But one of the things that fuels that is the pharmaceutical companies pushing doctors to prescribe these drugs, which is why painkillers are overprescribed, which is why very easily abused drugs like Adderall are overly prescribed. Everyone has ADHD. You know what I mean? There needs to be certain regulations put in place to end that very cozy relationship pharmaceutical companies have with these doctors.
It's funny. We did a podcast about this. There's a film called Prescription Thugs, and it talks about just this. We talked to the filmmaker on my podcast, and it points up what you're talking about, which is the abuse. But there's a different kind of abuse going on here, right? This is a judicial abuse. This is. I'm very concerned with the loss of privacy under the Obama administration. I think it's unbelievable. It's shameful, really, what he's done and what his administration has done. We talk about the Attorney General and how the track record of this Attorney General is just awful, this past Attorney General. So Yeah, this is insane. And you make a very good point when you talk about the damage that the government can do to you, even if at the end of it they find nothing. And so this intrusion into our lives can ruin our lives. And at the end of it, they go, you know what? Yeah, sorry, we didn't find anything. And so this falls under that umbrella, I think.
But I'm sure a lot of this will get cleaned up. We have a progressive who gets shit done, who's running for president right now. I'm sure she's gonna clean all this shit up. I mean, I'm sure during the campaign she said that marijuana needs more study, so she's behind. She's probably like in a 1950s mentality when it comes to drugs. But I'm sure she'll be much better, and I'm sure we'll all be happy with it.
Plus, by the way, law enforcement, we talk about them, and we've kind of elevated them in this country to some ridiculous level, as though they're as though it's populated by people who are of great judgment. Some may have great judgment, but the overwhelming number of people involved in these searches of, as Cenk says, your medicine cabinet, not literally, but your medical records, they don't have any kind of judgment. They don't have any kind of objectivity oftentimes, and there's an agenda many times. So this idea that law enforcement is going to do this, this is right into the category of warrantless wiretaps and all the other ways we're losing our privacies in this country.
And if it wasn't clear enough already, some people are taking medicine because they're transgender, and so they're taking hormones. And then some of them aren't even out yet. So then they'll be able to find out who's taking that medicine, why they're taking it. I mean, it is an absolutely gross violation of your privacy. And then one of the excuses they use, and this one drives me crazy because they use it in many different contexts, they said, no, you don't have a right to privacy because you gave it to a third party. But wait a minute, the state makes me do that,
Yes.
right? They make me go on that registry in order to be able to get the prescription drug. And we do everything through a third party now. For example, they say, oh, if you put something online, well, you had to use an internet provider to get online. So
there's a third party involved, and you have no expectation of privacy. Actually, a federal judge just ruled that police officials can get information from your cell phone without a warrant because you are willingly sharing your data with a third party, indicating that you're sharing your data with, let's say, the phone company. Exactly.
Yeah.
But like,
there's no other way to do it. What do you want me to run to Sweden and tell the guy what I was going to say? Like, we don't live in the 1776 anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a preposterous interpretation to say that if you're using a phone company or you're sending a private email, oh, you sent it through a computer, didn't you?
Wait.
Yeah, it's a third party. Ha ha, we're going to violate all of your privacy.
But they have to get a warrant to wiretap your phone. I mean, going back to when phones were invented, they have to get a wiretap for your phone. You're using a third party with your phone.
That's right. But nonetheless, they're ruling now, no, but I can still look at your pictures and I could look at your emails. Your phone, since there's so much Supreme Court precedent saying I can't listen to your phone, I guess I can't do that, but I'm going to violate your privacy in every other way.
There's no pressure inside the Democratic Party on the people to Barack Obama. There's nobody's talking about this. There's no.
Well, this is what I'm wondering, because when Edward Snowden, did the NSA leak, there were a lot of people that were making excuses for it. Like, well, we need it for national security, and if you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about. Who cares if the government is indiscriminately looking through your emails and all that? But I feel like this is even more personal because it impacts everyone. All of us have personal things in our medical records that we don't want out there, right? And so to know that authorities can just go through your medical records and have, access to the most confidential parts of your life, I think scares Americans. And really, what matters the most is whether or not this gets any coverage. Because I think if Americans know that this is happening and that their personal information is at risk, I think that they will stand up and fight against it.